everyone, it is By Jove Astrology. Today I'm going to be talking about Uranus in Gemini and what the planet means through all of the houses in astrology. And I'm, doing it from this really beautiful place, which is definitely very Uranus and Gemini vibes because it is going through my sixth house. When we get to the sixth house, you'll see why. Okay, so let's start with Uranus in general. So I've got my little notebook here. So basically, Uranus, if you've been like hearing anything about it, the words that you might be hearing are like liberation, revolution, freedom, expression, like being different, chaos for chaos sakes, like eruption, lightning strike. Basically, like Uranus energy is, if you know tarot at all, and even if you don't, I feel like these images say a lot. The Uranus is the tower in astrology. So you can see it's that lightning bolt that comes in and just demolishes a building, just destroys a structure. Because what Uranus energy is, or Uranus transit are, is basically they are a wake-up call. And so even though there's something that it's really hard to predict what's going to happen in Uranus transit, when you look back, even if now it like feels like the Uranus transit came out of nowhere, if you look back, you'll see that there were all these like little signs leading to that disruption that happened in your life. For example, like it might feel out of blue for you or the person that you're dating to be like, this relationship is over, right? It might be a shock to your system. But then when you see over time, you'll understand that like, oh yeah, the signs were there. I was just ignoring them. And it took, for example, maybe a flood happening in your house or your landlord to like change the rent or decide to sell the building for you to realize, oh, okay, I need to move past this point in my life. And again, like not all Uranus transits, even though that sounds really scary, like that could end up leading you on a really different path that you never expected. Because also Uranus is like can be anxiety ridden, but it's also a lot of fun. There's a lot of joy and playfulness and excitement that happens with Uranus. So let's talk about what it means that this planet is going to be in the sign of Gemini for about 7 or 8 years, including the retrogrades. So Gemini is a planet of the mind. It is ruled by, or Gemini is a sign of the mind. It is ruled by the planet Mercury, which is how we communicate. It's how we process emotions. It's how we read, how we learn, everything. And so Gemini is a two-bodied sign, and it's a sign that often mimics, or not necessarily, yeah, mimics, copies, picks up. Like, for example, my friends that are Gemini that I know, if they hear an interesting word someone say, they like start mimicking the speech or they start picking up and using that language, which I feel like oftentimes leads people to say, like, oh, Gemini is a fake sign. Like, people who are Geminis like are so changeable, but it's not like they are pretending to be someone else. It's just natural for them to take on the energy of the environment around them. So basically, Uranus and Gemini, this is a time where, yeah, there might be interesting new communication trends, different ways of speaking, because Uranus is also technology. So there could be a lot of technological advances in the way that changes the way that we communicate, the way that we take in media, the way that we process information and learn. We've already seen like this huge uptick trend with AI, which is drastically affecting the way that people are processing information and learning about things. So now we are going to go to Gemini and Uranus through all the houses. And by going through the houses, you're also going to learn a bit more about how Uranus and Gemini reveals itself. So the first house is the house of self. It is your identity, your physical body, your appearance, the way that you dress. It is basically like your life direction as well. And it's the house that fully represents you. All of the other houses can have things where it might be people in your life that are going through these Uranian changes. And so therefore it's affecting you. But in the first house, it is pretty much just you. Okay, so during this time, the next 7 or 8 years, you might be experimenting with different versions of yourself. So through the media that you consume, through the books that you read, through the friends that you make, through your social circles, you might be like, oh, I like that. I like that. I like that. Oh, I don't like that. Like you're experimenting and being playful, trying different hair, clothes, way of speaking. Like your whole personality is going to be very changeable in this time period. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just about embracing that and experimenting and having fun. Also, too, something that I've already noticed right away, even though Uranus has not been in Gemini for that long, is there is this. I basically have seen friends and my girlfriend as well, like they have been taking really big technology breaks, like taking Instagram or taking TikTok off their phone, like spending a lot more time by themselves because Uranus energy, one, it makes it hard for you to sleep. It's really electric. You feel it in the body. It can be really chaotic feeling. And so people who are having Uranus go through the first are feeling this like electric shock of energy. And so it's breaking them away. Actually, instead of embracing technology, in a way, it's breaking them away from it. Because again, it's like a revolution, liberation, or freedom. But if you're somebody who was previous to this transit, pretty much hooked on social media or being glued to your computer or your phone, this transit might mean the opposite for you. So that is Uranus in the first house. Let's move on because there are 11 more houses to go, and we're going to go to the second house. So the second house is the way that you earn a living. So it's your income, it's your values, your resources, like all your personal possessions, what you spend time, money, and energy on. And so you can imagine thinking about that Uranus lightning bolt of energy, like striking into your second house of possessions. That could mean like one, something like, I don't know why the image came to me of like your luggage being lost or something happening to, yeah, like you losing something, but in a way it's like having that big loss created this freedom because now you have space for other things in your life. Or also too, like the things that before maybe you used to be like spent so much money. Like, for example, let's say you were really into decorating your home or your personal wardrobe, and you spent so much time and money on that. And now, at this point in your life, especially with the way that money might be fluctuating in this period, up and down, you really start to realize, oh, maybe I want to spend my time and money on traveling, or maybe I want to spend it on my family. And so the way that you interact with the world and the things that you value are likely to be changing. You could potentially get a raise at work, or you could potentially lose like some of your pay work. So there could be this up and down that could be really strong. Or for example, like also too with earning money, maybe you're able to, because it's Gemini communication, maybe you're able to talk a bit more, like talk to your boss more directly, be a bit more bold. Or a little bit playful in your environment, and that might change, what you're able to earn. Okay, so now we're going to go to the third house. The third house is the house of communication. So here it's like with this influx, you might be feeling like you're talking like a mile a minute. Your friends are talking, your social circle, your neighbors, like maybe you're starting to get out there, be more social, talking with everybody. Maybe instead of like the people in the first house, you're the one that's jumping onto social media. You might have a message, something that needs to be communicated. Also being the third house and the house of siblings, like your siblings might be undergoing drastic changes, where maybe you're not really recognizing who they are anymore, or maybe you're connecting in a different or new way. Okay, so the fourth house. The fourth house is the house of home. It is like your private life and your private space, but also like the physical location of your home, your family, and your roots. So in your fourth house, maybe instead of your siblings, it could be like your parents who are going through really radical changes. And so the way that they're changing and what's happening to them is really making you rethink about what family means to you or what's important to you. You could have a complete change of home. You might move to a different neighborhood. You might, if you live by yourself, maybe you start living with your friends. If you live with a bunch of people, maybe now you're living alone. So it's like basically, with Uranus, the liberation or the revolution is going to be extremely personal to you. So, for me, when it went through my fourth house, at that time, I mean, a lot of times transits affect me this way, but I was moving a lot. I was backpacking through Europe. I was, changing homes constantly. And I definitely feel like during that time, I was really processing like, what does home mean to me? What does family mean to me? And because it's Uranus, like that might mean something different. Like I've seen people now, like where a bunch of friends will buy a property together and live together, or like you might create a family with a best friend, like maybe like adopt a kid or have a child with someone who's not necessarily what people would view as a typical romantic partner, but for you, that's what family means in this instance. Okay, now we go to fifth house. So fifth house is the house of love. It is the house of creativity, of children, romantic relationships, and sex. And so in the fifth house, this could be like, yeah, you surprisingly having children or your partner having children. This could be changes to your children, like maybe their personality or the way that they're aging. It's like, they're going through a phase that really changes them directly. This could be really surprising changes to your love life. Like, with the Uranus in the fifth house, like for me, it was like you see someone across the room and you just feel that lightning bolt to your heart of connection. And maybe you fall in love in a way that you didn't think was possible, or with someone that you typically might not want to date. Not want to date, but you wouldn't have dated before. So it's something really different. Also too, like again with Uranus, it's unpredictable, so that person could come in your life really fast and leave really quickly, or maybe in and out depending on how the transit works for you. Also too, like with creativity and projects, maybe you're starting a new project and there's some kind of big social element or communication. Maybe you're writing something. There's definitely, yes, some instance of it being different, or using some perhaps like a different form of technology or a way of expressing yourself creatively that you didn't use before. All right, now we go to the sixth house. So the sixth house is the house of the physical body. It is your daily routine, your work. Like the 10th house is career, but the sixth house is like your day-to-day work. It can be your employees or your employers. And so, for example, for me, I'm experiencing it now in the sixth house, and just at the very part of its ingress, like I literally like look at my office today. I feel like I've been making all these videos before. I was feeling really shy to put myself out. And now I still am a bit, but I'm learning and exploring creatively with my work. And being like pushed in all these different directions. Like today, I was going to just make a video at the Airbnb I was at, but there were so many people around that I ended up going for a walk, and it brought me here. The sixth house could also be changes to your body. So, you could potentially have some sort of accident that changes the way that you have to take care of your body or the things that you're able to do. Or you might start like a new health routine or a new workout. Even for me too, something that I've been doing a lot is when I have to write something long, I've been setting these little, the Pomodoro method. I've been setting all these little timers. And so they're kind of short-lived timers, but it's like I know that I'm gonna get in a space where when I'm working for a long time, my mind starts to drift. And so I give myself space to actually get up and move around and play into the fact that I'm gonna get bored, so that when I come back, basically like I'm able to sit down and focus again. So that's the sixth house. The seventh house. The seventh house is the house of relationships. And I really like to think of this as a place of life purpose, because it's not just romantic, it's also platonic. So people who are in your life that are special to you. Having this in the seventh house might mean like you have a new partner that again, kind of like the fifth house, comes out of nowhere that you are really surprised by, but you're able to create this really different sort of relationship that you believed before. Or your partner might be growing under themselves some like personal changes. Like, for example, you might be having the Uranus transit in your seventh house, and they're having it in the first house. So, as a seventh house person, listen to the part about the first house to kind of understand a little bit about what your partner might be going through and vice versa. And yeah, your relationship might change drastically. Like the thing about Gemini is that it's a sign that can get really bored easily or want to try things that are different and new. And so this might mean like, if your relationship, you've been together for a long time and now you're getting to that point where you want to imbue it with doing lots of fun things, maybe like going out, hanging out with new friends, trying new activities, like trying different ways of communicating, like maybe even going to therapy or doing creative stuff, or potentially things like meditation, yoga together that might have been before a little bit too far out there, but now it's kind of interesting to try in your relationship. All right, now we have the eighth house. So the eighth house is the house of taxes. It is the house of death. It is the house of basically everything that we inherit. And so this could also be things like our mental health. So for example, like things that, your parents might have dealt with, you also got that inherited down from them. So having this in the eighth house, again, this might be different ways of thinking about your mental health or the mental struggles that you have. And so that might be a shock to the system, trying something different. Going to therapy, doing meditation. This could also be like changes in your partner's finances. And so, you're having it in the eighth house, they might be having it in the second house. So you can listen to the second house to understand what your partner or the people in your life, what changes financially might be happening to them that is really going to affect what you have. If you have any debt or potentially might have debt, Uranus in the eighth house might be like somehow your debt is gotten rid of, or maybe you get more debt. There's a lot of like fluctuation there. So definitely be careful about your spending habits or the spending habits of the people around you and how that might influence you. So now we get to the ninth house. The ninth house is the house of travel, higher education. It is your worldview, spiritual connections. And so having Uranus in the ninth house might mean like you go back to school, you get really interested in a new philosophy or way of thinking. Maybe you start getting really spiritual. Like with the Gemini aspect there, you might be like, oh, I want to try this, I want to try that, I want to try that. Well, let me take this part from a certain religion that I really like, and this part from this philosophy. And I'm going to take all those pieces and I'm going to create my own new world view that I'm sharing with people, or maybe I'm learning about from other people as well. You might be traveling to different places, or even just like within your own neighborhood, discovering new things that you like to do. You might be doing some sort of teaching as well in the ninth house. Sometimes it's like either student or teacher dynamic. Okay, and the 10th house. The 10th house is a house of career. So this is basically your life path, or like you're in those big ambition sort of things. So like 10th house, maybe like your whole life you thought, I'm going to be an art teacher. And then suddenly you're like, no, you know what I really want to be is singer. Or like, okay, I'm going to open my own yoga studio. And then suddenly your dream turns to you want to be a chef. So there's some really big change here to your life direction that, again, with that tower energy, maybe you're like, oh no, it's all crashing and burning down around me. I really want to keep this thing that I've been working towards. But it's also about like embracing that change, because sometimes we're so narrowly focused on a path, we can't even see something else that we might be better suited towards. Okay. And then your 11th house, if you have Uranus and Gemini going through the 11th house, this can be really fun. This can be like you are meeting people from so many different communities. You are getting out there, talking, like exploring. Your friend groups might be radically changing. And also too, just thinking as like a collective whole, like maybe you are doing volunteer work, maybe you are working on helping people from different communities in a way that you didn't think was possible before. Maybe the friends around you are changing a lot, but there's definitely some community element here where it's really fun, it's really different, it's exciting. And maybe that might be a little anxious because it might be like, oh, you move somewhere new and suddenly you don't have the friends that you thought were going to be there. And so you're forced to get out there and meet people in a different way. And that can lead towards a really interesting path. And the last house is the 12th house, the house of your mental health, solitude, and spirituality. So the ninth house is spirituality, but it's more of like organized religion, or where like you're really learning in a specific practice. But in the 12th house, it is spirituality in the sense of like, here, like tapping into nature, like being one with the earth, with the ocean. It's more of like a fluid sort of spirituality. Also like having it go through the 12th house, maybe you kind of have problems with your mental health where you're like, I just need to chill out, I need a break. And so you go off and you're on your own. Or maybe if it's like you're someone who spends a lot of time by yourself, it might be in the opposite direction of like, oh, maybe I want to be alone, but I want to be alone with my friend. I want to be alone, but in a group setting where, even if we're not talking, maybe we're just sitting there and meditating together, or maybe we're creating art together, but there's some element of fun and play there. And also too, like if you have, maybe problems with addiction in any sort of sense, like Uranus through the 12th house can be that lightning bolt moment of waking you up and pulling you out of some repeated pattern that you've done and to help you break through and get liberation. So that is Uranus through the 12 houses. Let me know what down in the comments what house Uranus is going through, and if you've seen any of these elements or themes already pop up. So that's it for today's discussion.